Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live.
Good morning, everyone. Let's do a mic check. Good health to everyone. Good health to everyone. Okay, that's a good mic check. How's everyone doing today? Hi, Malika. How are you, sweetie? We are experiencing a new book that is out of print. I think this book I got from the UK. I'm pretty sure it came from the UK. It's called The Company of Prophets. African American psychics, healers, and visionaries. And the book was written by Joyce Elaine Noll. The author, Joyce Elaine Noll, was one of 7 children of African American parents who migrated north from Virginia in the 1930s. Joyce Elaine Noll grew up in East Harlem in New York City. She moved to the San Francisco area in 1959 to complete her undergraduate studies at San Francisco State University. In 1971, she received a master's degree in social work at the University of California at Berkeley. As a social worker, she has counseled and provided varied supportive services through public agencies and hospitals. Since undergoing a period of intense spiritual distress nearly a quarter of a century ago, Joyce has been consciously working on gaining spiritual insight and understanding. She is a student of religious and metaphysical disciplines and has received and given counseling in self-development, through which she has gained personal knowledge of psychic phenomena. Joyce is married to an educator who is also a metaphysical teacher and writer. In addition to writing, counseling, and creating stone sculptures, Joyce manages an active family life. She has 2 daughters, a son, 3 stepdaughters, and 4 step-grandchildren. When was this book copyrighted? First copyrighted in 1940. So she's up there in age. Interesting. First edition was in 1940. And only the cover has been updated, looks to me. All right, we are going to start at the preface. I don't know if I should leave the preface out. Let me say hello to everyone. Hi, Creative Soul. Hi, Yolanda. Hi, Black Coffee No Cream. How's everyone doing? All right, I'm going to start at the preface. 4 o'clock in the morning, the hour of God, but also the time of vulnerability. Along some routes, this is a favorite hour to clean buses, rouse from sleep. We stumble down into darkness, half formed, so wispy our connections to our bodies, so in our own universes, that we were the dotted figures in childhood activity books, lacking the proper lines to impinge as real. My journey to gather material for this book was made mostly by bus. It was the way in which I could best afford to travel, and it was certainly the only direct passage to many places. I made 4 cross-country trips. Bus riding was familiar enough to me as a child. I rode southbound buses from Harlem for more than a decade to visit my grandparents in Virginia. Once through the Holland Tunnel, man-made structures gave way to the wonder of non-concrete to flowing space at eye level. It seemed to me space spread in all directions in absoluteness, bending and blending in were stands of trees, cornfields, farm buildings, and small towns, not violating space with their presence. My joy, too, was in feasting for what seemed a bottomless shoebox, packed with a wonderful assortment of picnic goodies by my mother. And there was singing hour after hour. My 2 sisters, cousin, other young passengers, and I sang the hit tunes of the day, with the driver and the adult passengers indulging us at least most of the time. These memories all had their part in strengthening my decision to travel by bus. Pilgrims, as travelers used to be called, would often receive a benediction prior to their setting out. I always got a good send off from my husband and children. But in El Paso, on my third trip out during midday rest, I crossed over to the convention center, inexplicably drawn to it, seizing, I thought, an opportunity to be apart from the chaotic current that mobilizes a bus station. I hurried toward the restroom to wash away road grime before doing a quick tour of the center's art gallery. A group of 5 women was already there in the ladies' lounge, and I exchanged greetings with them. Upon learning of the nature of my trip and the subject matter of my intended book, they showed sudden spiritual excitement. They spontaneously formed a prayer circle with me, and there, in that improbable location for an appeal for divine intervention, the bathing and toileting facilities of a Texas convention center, I received their blessings and good wishes for a safe trip and a successful project. I left El Paso feeling restored and well enough that I should. They were part of a Southwestern charismatic Catholic convention. The bus and the stations usually served as my main hotel accommodations. I would draw as many interviews from a town as possible and then rush for the evening bus. But after 2 or 3 nights of sleeping on buses, I needed a bed. and full bathing facilities. I usually stayed in hostels, and they, in their many regional variations, proved to be secure places. College dormitories were greatly sought by me for lodging, but they were seldom available, and most colleges seemed to have problems accommodating their own student bodies, let alone mine. I was fortunate being able to arrange for quarters at Fisk University in the same building where the Jubilee singers had lived. As the only person lodged on the top floor of that old building, I thought I might have an encounter with one or more of those esteemed historical, although deceased performers. But even my sleep was dreamless and interrupted only by a co-ed coming upstairs to use the hall phone. The individuals whose stories I heard and read during these travels and in my research are adherents of many different religions, faith, belief systems, and practices. They have a variety of lifestyles and come from diverse economic, social, economic, and educational backgrounds, but in common, they have these characteristics: identity within the African American culture, native born United States citizenship status, and substantial and definitive psychic abilities. Very little information is available concerning this particular population. The United States born African Americans having extra sensory perception. The existing data are scattered mostly through magazines and newspapers. This book is an effort to provide a more comprehensive and focused view. My main intent in writing Company of Prophets is to provide overdue acknowledgement to a group of people who have essentially been ignored. I began my search in the fall of 1983 with an interstate USA bus pass, a few referrals and leads. I headed away from home in California. In my search, in addition to finding opportunities to interview contemporary individuals, I hoped to unearth historical material on that population as well. The material for this book was gathered from personal and telephone interviews, books, newspapers, and magazine articles. There were heartening occurrences during my travel. Conversations overheard in the most unconnected of places resulted in an enrichment of my store of information, and in one instance led to a significant interview. A book randomly pulled from a library shelf on several occasions presented a new personality or provided the basis for a sketched image suddenly to become defined and lockable. However, a number of disappointments are solely remembered. I missed people who I had traveled several days to see. Our signals were misunderstood. There were also prospective interviews who couldn't comprehend what I was doing or feared their privacy, and so declined the interviewing. Fortunately, they were very few in number. The warm reception, in the hospitality, the encouragement and blessings bestowed upon me across the country by other African Americans in telling their stories to this stranger constitutes the creation of a most singular lifetime experience. Not forgotten either is the generosity of resource people. A number of individuals around the country, both black and white, freely shared information, their own research materials, and sometimes their homes with me. The range of testimonies includes those of psychic counselors, historical figures, religious recluses, artists, children, and people of varying professions and disciplines. The individuals whom I interviewed all believed in a supreme spirit consciousness. Many followed traditional Western religions, others studied the teachings of the East, and yet others belonged to New Age religions and groups. People of both religions and secular communities are presented here in the secrets of my own creation, without reference to any hierarchical evaluation in terms of their station in life or state of being. This secret is based solely upon carrying along a continuity of interest and description, following a necessity for some form of guidelines and parameters. I have omitted charismatic religious leaders who may have or had psychic abilities. Their inclusion would have opened too wide a range for particular purposes of this book. There seems to be ample material on many of these individuals already in circulation, continuously being made available. That an individual is mentioned more than once is not indicative that his or her abilities have greater quality or significance. Multiple inclusions reflect rather the person having a breadth and diversity of attributes, which would be of interest to the general reader. Furthermore, the book is arranged not only by individual identities, but by abilities, under which system an individual may be presented in more than a few sections. In terms of attitude toward the material world held by people included in this book, I found a broad range of considerations regarding the acquisition and holding of worldly wealth. Some interviewed were quite intent upon creating a balance between the material and the spiritual. Others had little or no interest in the area of economics beyond how to survive in a world and in physical body while they continue their work. I had a set of questions, fairly basic one to use for the interviewing process. They were often answered before I could express them. A specific interest to me was how individuals were using their gifts, such as whether they sought to realize goals through supernormal powers, extending beyond desires for self-enhancement. Throughout interviews and research, I found that the desire to help others held strongly in this group. Many spoke of their struggles to articulate their gifts meaningfully into service for humankind. There are those too who believe they could not use their abilities for themselves at all. then their gifts would vanish if they were in any way to profit from them. As general terms, abilities, gifts, powers, talent, spiritual gifts, and psychic gifts all refer to extrasensory perception qualities. They also allude to those invincible channels of thought and spirit by which human beings can exercise an apparent power to affect physical matter, time, space, and mind of others. They are used interchangeably throughout this book. The mark and deep intuitivity in the African American culture has long been generally known and implied through writings. Much of what has been written has concentrated on the mysticism and psychicism of Black people in Africa and the Caribbean. This book is one person's survey and view on the subject of the U.S. born Blacks with advanced psychic abilities. This writing is only intended as a descriptive and not an all-inclusive effort. I only interview a small percentage of the population, and I undoubtedly missed a number of people whom readers may believe should have been included. I sincerely regret such admission. I was fortunate in this project. Interviews and research were sometimes such intense being-to-being experiences that they affected my spiritual outlook profoundly. From these contexts, new realizations about myself and about existence surfaced in a greatly accelerated manner, leaving me breathless in their impacting clarity. Stirred from a long-held stance of wooden wondering and hesitation, I was inspired to move with greater resolution into fully immersing myself into living as myself. Company of Prophets is a compilation from the personal experience of individuals exemplifying the ways that intuitivity and the power of the spirit manifests through native-born African Americans. I had wandered among my own people to tap not the genetic roots, but the spiritual roots of the collective spiritual consciousness of my race. And as an unexpected consequence, I received healing through the power of that assembled and unified spirituality. Joyce Elaine Noll. That's the preface. All right, let me say hi to everyone. Good morning, Rhonda. Hello, Tracy and everyone. Hi, Satari, Self Care Institute, Grand Rising. Marcella Amade. Hello, sweetie. Angela, how are you, Angela? How are you doing today? All right, guys, let's get back to the book. It's starting out with my favorite topic, children. Children. I say that because, oh boy, oh boy, are we getting some pandemic special kids coming through. And we got to get ready for these babies. Children with Power, Chapter 1. In the lives of children who have advanced psychic ability, there is a profound turning point of a kind. Sometime when either fully or partially aware, they determine whether they can tolerate their unique abilities. They resolve to sustain and use the gifts as best they can, or when the ability is seen as diseased by self or others, the child can resort to doing all manner of things to make the disability vanish. A child bent on being free of his or her attributes removes an integral part of self, and in that way withdraws from the vital aspects of psychic spiritual experience. The effort to cancel the gift may subtract from normal senses as well, and will suppress the child's overall being. In discussing the topic of supernormal abilities in childhood, in both interview and other settings, a number of individuals stated that when it became obvious to them as a child that they had a psychic gift, they prayed to God to take it away. They fought the gift. Some of the reasons given: they were frightened by the phenomena of the gift. It brought unbearing isolation from others. It ran against familial or peer belief system. They feared the power it gave them. The power the ability might wield back against them. It was often seen as mysteriously dangerous. In several cases, it was too difficult for the young person to gather the courage needed to maintain the coexistence and exercise of the ability in the face of even mild opposition. Regarding the gift as harmful, the child would seek release and relief through his or her efforts to eradicate or abandon the gift. Some prayed, others pretended it didn't exist, others ignored it. Some disowned it. In contrast, a psychic child may be quite aware of his or her life missions connected with the possessions of an extra physical ability. At an early stage in childhood, such a being may confidently prepare for the for the actualization of the ability and the goal. That child would be immune to outside influences, standing his or her ground with enormous integrity. With a child who has supernormal attributes, there is always an attendant vulnerable from the conservative orientations of other people. The fragility of the child's own world of psychic realities is pitted against the monolinear physical perspectives of some adults who use adherence to material reality as a guise of absolute power, and those adults who are all-knowing and who effect a strict enforcement and obedience to their constrictive belief system. Such adults create an interpositioning of barriers to the child's recognition, acceptance, and utilization of his or her gifts. The Black child's struggle to incorporate the truth of his or her own expanded universe into life is further complicated by specific traces of contracting negative energy in the collective spiritual consciousness of society. Largely in the past, but even now within the national collective consciousness, this negativity has been generated. It surfaces as inclination to minimize, distort, or destroy self-confidence regarding the most ordinary of capabilities that any member of the African American culture might possess. Such persisting consciousness in a mental dimension created by the collective negative energies of our nation in the course of its history constitutes a stagnant repository of century-old prejudgmental and attitudinal programming of a racial nation. Although the negative influences lies unperceived from any body orientation, it can still fully impact upon the physical dimension. Reflexively, it activates a negative psychic programming in most on an unconscious level to oppose any African Americans, including children, exhibiting remarkable qualities. These energies of mental opposition and invalidation can be extremely subtle, but a child in the early stages of psychic revelation is sensitive to them as to any sustaining prevailing energies. The African American psychic child's awareness thus becomes dispersed in trying to sort out and identify the most opposing factors in the basically material-oriented anxiety in which he or she lives. Even more telling can be the opposition from closer in, common to all psychic children, that comes from the valued affinities of parents, family, friends, or from the religion which he or she inherited. The effects created by these adversities can be reduced by the child's drawing upon the positive energy of the collective spiritual consciousness of the Black race, which safeguards and balances group members who can resonate as its vibratory frequency. Imparted from the group's soul to the consciousness of the child are the original group's African beliefs and acceptances of intuition, of supernormal qualities, and a range of psychic and mystical states of being. The race spirit affirms these qualities. It states out of its own tradition their ancestry to any transplanted conditions or states founded culturally or scientifically, imposed and arbitrarily placed by authorities in the material world. Through the collective spiritual consciousness of the Black race, tribute is imparted to those beings possessed spiritually or psychic gifts. Through the collective spiritual consciousness of the Black race, tribute is imparted to those beings possessing spiritual or psychic gifts, no matter whether their bodies identify them as adults or as a child. Shortly before she prophesied, Jenny Benson, then 8 years old, was outside playing in the yard. All at once, she ran indoors with a message for her grandmother. Mama, I said, Aunt Mahalia is dead. She said, oh my God, who told you? I said, something told me. She hauled off and hit me upside the head. Pow. What did you lie for? What did you tell that lie for? In a while, one of Jenny's cousins came by a horse. As he approached, he called out to her grandmother, Cousin Nance, I stopped by to tell you Aunt Mahalia is dead. My grandmother asked when, and it was just the time I had told her. But there was no apology forthcoming to the girl for delivering authenticated, spirit-prompted messages, or for the blow that punctuated the prophecy. They thought I was crazy. I had to be determined. My grandmother said I wasn't going to live long. I was too peculiar. I got a backhand lick for telling the truth. It didn't stop me. When I was born, there was no such thing as birth control pills. Not in the country of Mississippi. My mother was pregnant but one time, and that was with me. She prayed to God to close up her womb. I never stayed with my mother. But while she was with me, she said, I was very peculiar. I was very peculiar. I stayed with my grandparents. Though unappreciated by the adults in those early years, she confides how her playmates waited eagerly to hear her pronouncements. They would ask me questions, and I would say, tonight, I'm going to talk to the Lord. What he tells me, I'm going to tell you. Her friends accepted Jenny's prophetic messages and always seemed satisfied with what she said. She was but 8 years old when the inward voice she hears told of her destiny. The Lord told me I will be in Nashville, Tennessee, and of the good works I would do for him. 3 gifts have been realized since childhood by Jenny Vincent Vaughn. The gifts of prophecy, preaching, and healing. Residing in Nashville, Tennessee, she is the minister of St. Teresa Holiness Science Church and holds ministry positions in several churches in other states. Most of the churches she has helped found. That was Jenny's story. This is Henry's story. Henry was bouncing in and out of his body after his tonsils were removed. It started as he came from under anesthesia, seeing his body from different locations in a hospital room, and being acutely aware that he was in yet another space, at a distance from his body. caused the 8-year-old to feel alarmed and insecure. He tried to tell the nurse what was happening, but she didn't seem to hear him. That night, he attempted to anchor himself by concentrating, but he would involuntarily relax and end up somewhere else in the room, again viewing his prostrate body. He battled all night but was unable to keep spirit, mind, and body in the same place. The experience brought a marked change into the South Side Chicago boy's life. He now felt a depth of uncertainty and loss. That which had been real to him before, and in agreement with everybody else he knew, was undone. From then on, he heard voices, saw pictures projected in his head. He was often the awe and unwilling receiver of transmitted thoughts and emotions of others. People's faces changed as he looked at them. Their past lives' facial features opened to his view. Even while he was in the schoolroom, he traveled out of his body in astral flight to the detriment of his academic performance. An inner voice emerged. He learned from the voice, but he was upset by its presence in his universe. Henry was ashamed and embarrassed about his newly extended perceptions. This facet of himself was further exhibited after he offered to help a disabled man. Through his young healing gift, and was rejected. The man's wife firmly told Henry not to bother them with that nonsense. Concerned over being singled out as a kook or classified as insane, prompted Henry to keep his impressions contained so that the boundaries of the inner world would never flow over into his social life. Persistently, he monitored himself in this matter, thus succeeding at being a normal person. During his childhood and into early manhood, it took many years for Henry Rucker to openly accept his psychic talents. And when he did, his inner voice instructed him around his primary gift, psychic healing, which in childhood he had repressed into a state of limbo. All right, I'm trying to navigate how best to read this book, and this is the first section. So, I like to be able to stop and talk about each person's gift, but for some reason, I'm also uncomfortable. So, bear with me as I find common ground with myself, reading the book, and how to present it to you all. I'd like to go back to Jenny for a second and ask, how did you all handle your own childhood gifts? How many times have you said something to somebody and it has come true? Thank you, Satari. I'm so glad you're hearing it. I have to tell you, I get very intimidated. Nobody knows how intimidated I actually can be. But I do. And in that intimidation, I then carry the fear that I'm not getting myself across. So thank you for saying something. It does provide the necessary confidence in me to move forward in this book or any book. It always starts out this way, every book. But I know for me personally, I always knew I had the gift, but there was no name for the gift. And maybe that was a good thing. Also, no one identified that I had the gift. Again, that may have been protective of spirit on me. So I always knew that I had the gift, but more because I was quiet. And like they say, don't trust the quiet ones. The quiet ones are watching you. They're assessing you. They've already decided whether or not they like you, whether or not you're safe for them. And so when you're quiet and when you're observantly quiet, you'll hear things, you'll see things. Your psychic ability will kick in quick. The click clack of somebody's shoes will make you look at them and then look up and realize a mischievous person just walked into your mama's house. You always know the kind-hearted spirits when you're young and quiet because you're assessing them. You don't know what you're doing. You are just being. And that's the best part. And if you're lucky enough to have hit it for a while, it actually grows stronger. The minute it's exposed, especially in an African American family, they call upon the devil. Child, you got that little girl got the devil in her. And it's like, come on, guys. Can we use a better word besides devil? Like you're calling an 8-year-old a devil? Mine was totally missed. No one saw it. By the grace of God, nobody saw the gift. And one day I was 7, 9, 8, I can't remember. And my dad used to play numbers. And back in the day, there was no such thing as lottery, right? But they had something, I don't know what it was called, running numbers or something like that. And then they would post the numbers in the papers back in the day. And I was jumping rope in the house. I'll never forget this. And my dad says, baby girl, give me some numbers. And I looked, I stopped jumping rope and I said, 8, 8, 8. And he looked at me and he said, those are the stupidest numbers I've ever heard in my life. And I shrugged my shoulders and went back to jumping rope. I did not care that he thought they were stupid. He asked for a set of numbers. I gave it to him. Moving on. My world is not going to get disrupted because you felt the numbers were stupid at 8. The next day, he's eating breakfast. And again, I'm sitting across from him and he chokes on his eggs. I'll never forget. And he says, oh my God, those stupid numbers that Tracy called out came in 8, 8, 8. And I looked at him choking and I shrugged my shoulders and I kept eating. I mean, you're damn right the numbers came through. You asked, I talked to spirit, I gave it to you. It's not my fault if you don't trust me. That was when I realized I had a gift. That day, watching my dad choke on eggs. Let me see what everybody is saying. I thought it was normal to know things. One time a boss told me it's not typical for people to know things before it happened. Okay, well, that's a lie, says Satari. Angela, at my first, I told someone about something that happened in the future in a joking way. He said that I scared him, Angela. Satari says, my mother said when I was a baby, she was afraid of me because my eyes would pierce right through her. She thought I was from the children of the corn. Yeah, that's the other thing about psychic children. They're, they're, they have a piercing stare. The other day, I was looking at a video of my daughter-in-law's brother. And he's a musician. I don't understand his type of music. It's always in some dark club. It's always black and red colors, and I just don't get his vision, but I support him. In the process of not understanding his music, I completely support him, and I love how vibrant he is, even though I don't understand it. So whenever he puts a video out, I I watch his video. I send him a Facebook message. I always tell him, great job, great video, great. They're always in this club with eclectic writing and red lights, and it's so funny to watch. And so I always send him a Facebook message, and then he'll send back, and I'll be like, wow, I noticed on YouTube it has like 800 views. And then he'll respond back and he goes, no, it has 1,300 views now. So cute. Like, I love the youth and their development, right? And so I keep up with him by way of his videos on Facebook. And then one day I was watching on YouTube, and his name is Top, and Top's video came on my screen as an option to watch, which has never happened. I mean, never. And I thought, oh, I should watch his video. And I was like, nah, I don't feel like watching Top's video. And I heard Spirit say, watch it. And I was like, okay, I've learned to be obedient to Spirit, trust and believe. I've learned. If Spirit says make a left, make a left. If Spirit says don't go to work today, don't go to work today. If Spirit says make sure you pick up black pepper, pick up fucking black pepper because you don't have it at home, right? And so I looked at Top's video, and his video was the pre to the show. So he was showing his family and all the different dynamics, and his sister came on, and she's just adorable, and she's a rapper, and just a tall drink of water rapper. And who do I see? I see my son doing somebody's hair. I see my daughter-in-law. There's a new baby, even Allie, which Ezra already told me about. But the funny thing that I saw was my baby Nova. Nova. So he pins on Nova, which was so extraordinary for him to capture this. He pins on Nova, and Nova looks at the screen like she was Wednesday from Addams Family. And I cracked up laughing. When she looked at the screen, the way she looked at the screen, all I could think was, oh, that's a true psychic baby right there. The intense stare was immeasurable. And I was like, oh, there's the gift. She's got the gift. Too funny. So I understand that. Who said it? uh, Satari says, my mother said when I was a baby, she was afraid of me because my eyes would pierce right through her. She thought I was from Children of the Corn. I think that two things are indicative of psychic children. One is more quiet than others, more observant than others, not always having the perfect words to say what they're feeling because of previous intimidation, so we learn not to talk so much. And that damn stare. That stare will get you every time. Let's call it the Wednesday stare. That stare will get you every time. That will give it away. That's when you look awkward. You're like, is that little girl okay? Yeah, she's fine. She got the Wednesday stare. Sweets Carmel says, as a child, I thought it was normal. All of the women in my family talked about it. It wasn't until a few years ago I learned my dad was too. Oh, that's very interesting, Sweets Carmel. Hmm. To get it from both sides. I love that. I'm wondering, to be honest with you, I'm wondering if you have to get it from both sides, right? Because I think like minds find energetically like minds. So I'm wondering, is there something there that allows a metaphysical teenager, young adult, to meet up with that person who's metaphysically the same, but at a different degree? Hi, Stephen. My gift began, says Creative Soul, when my grandmother died. Oh, sorry for the loss of your grandma. I was 10 years old. I stopped telling my mother my dreams because she told me it was of the devil. Guys, metaphysical people, I'm never going to get to regular damn folks, but can we stop using the word devil? It's so mean. It has so many connotations to so many different things. Like, the devil is not real, evil exists, but don't take it where it becomes an entity. That's a misnomer and really stops you in your tracks. Now, when I hear people say the devil is a lie, I crack up laughing. I'm like, oh, okay, child, the devil's a lie. Because the devil is not a lie. If God wanted a lie to be told, he would tell it. It'd be authorized. If God wanted the truth to be told, it would be authorized. It would happen. God, God. Change devil to God and watch your lives be a lot more spiritual. Hi, Celestial. As a young teen, I told my boyfriend of something that would happen, and he said in a joking way that I scared him. When things show up on social media, sometimes it's spirit talking to you. That is so true, Angela. I can think of something, and everything I think of will pop up on my social media feed. That is so true. I tell everyone now that spirit talks to me through social media, and I'm just glad that they found their way to communicate that way. Angela says psychic children can accurately read a person upon meeting you. They know exactly what type of person you are. They do. Angela, oh, Sweet Carmel says, Angela, I tell people that you don't have to say a word. I can feel who you are and your purpose. It's overwhelming for me most days. I feel everything. I think you have to give yourself permission not to invade other people's impressions unless it's important, right? Remember that in your metaphysical world, there's power, but you have to decide I am invading someone's spirit. Remember, in the metaphysical world, you are there to help. So if you can't help in the moment, but you can feel what's going on, how you help is through prayer. So you close your eyes if you can, and you pray their situation that you're feeling back to them. You do not hold on to other people's issues. You'll be dead early. Sorry to say it that way. You push it back to them. They've got to learn to deal with their problems. But you might have to learn to mind your psychic business. Hello, Mr. George. How are you today? How are you, sir?
How are you today? Okay?
I'm doing good, thank you.
I have no TV on. The guy is coming from the fire now to check.
You have no TV?
You know, you can see when he comes, you know.
Well, you have no TV. Do I have TV? Let me check to see if I have TV. Hold on, guys. Okay, I think I have TV, so my poor Mr. George does not have TV. So, remember, you're always there to help. Always. Do not hold on to anyone's psychic impressions that you're getting unless you can help. But I want you guys to listen to me. It's about sending love. I get it but we're sending the wrong message, right? I don't want Sweet Carmel to be pitied for her gift. I want Sweet Carmel to understand that the gift is there for a reason, and you always push something else back out of you. You do not hold on to it. There's power in the secret of holding on to what you know about someone, right? You get rid of it. You push it back out to the person. I want you guys to hear me because it's really important. It's really important. It's about longevity and it's about using a gift properly. Push it back out. And at the very least, the most powerful thing you could do within your power of receiving the psychic impressions of somebody else is prayer. So, what you see, hear, and feel, push it back and pray that they overcome the situation. And you pray in your way. I remember once being on a subway, and you tried being on the subway and getting everybody's psychic impressions. So I've learned to read books in big spaces. As the years went on, I learned music helps in big spaces. You got okay. And one time I was sitting cat a corner from a woman that was in tears, and her baby was next to her. The baby might have been 3 or 4, and the woman was just in tears. And of course, I got that she had problems this morning with her significant other, whoever that may be. It was the first time I decided to use it as a test, right? And I decided to see how much information I could garner from this. And so I stayed focused. I stared at her because she didn't know I was looking at her anyway. And the information came flooding in. And I realized this woman had a physical fight with her significant other. And she wanted to leave so badly, but she couldn't. She had nowhere to go. She did not tell me this. This is the impression that I was getting sitting across from her in the subway. And so I asked God, when I get this, what am I supposed to do? Because I can't go up to her, right? And she was Spanish, by the way. And a lot of people in California, they speak broken Spanish. Sometimes when they're upset, they can only speak Spanish. And I was like, I'm not going to be able to go up to her and give her, kind words, God. So what should I do? And what I got was just pray for her. Today is a bad day for her, but tomorrow won't be. She'll find her way out when she's ready. And that was so comforting because it just let me know that God was over her situation as well. So it no longer became about me and what I was receiving in the intimacy of her privacy. It was God letting me know, you have a gift. She has a problem. Your gift cannot impose on her problem because there was no way I could go over and say what's going on. For a number of reasons, right? I was on the subway. My stop would be coming up soon. She was Spanish. I didn't want to even figure out if she could speak, 100% English. And it's also uncomfortable, right? To go up to someone and say, I heard everything that you're going through. It's weird. It's weird. And so when I asked God, and I want you guys to remember this, if you can, remember to always take every circumstances to spirit. So I asked God, what am I supposed to do? And God said, pray for her. So I'm presenting that to you all as an example of constant reminder of prayer. And whatever you do, sweet Carmel, do not hold on to people's impression. When it comes in and you feel it, swoosh it out. This is not for me to hold on to. Boom. What's happening to me and the feelings of what you're going through, swoosh it out. Whew. It's not for me to hold on to. And I mean that. I mean that because if you hold on to other people's emotions, you can't handle your own life and your own emotions. And God does not want that for you. And in the moment, you can't always take care of something. Sometimes what you're being given is your own test of strength, not necessarily, I'm just going to hold on to this information and I heard so much through spirit. Don't do that. You're misinterpreting spirit. All right. I would also thank spirit for the ability to feel someone's energy. And then I would thank spirit and say, I'm going to let it go. It's not for me. And spirit will completely understand. All right. The other thing I want to talk about, so we got through Jenny and childhood, and then there was Henry, who has had out of body experiences. And how did you guys handle that? Yes, Stacy, you give yourself anxiety if you hold on to it. Thank you, Stacy. But every time you allow yourself to understand your psychic ability and feel energy, you're getting stronger. And one day, you're going to need it at its 100%. And you're really going to be able to help someone. All right? Who here has ever had out-of-body experiences, which, by the way, is very common? Right up until like 10 years ago, I used to have, and I'm grown ass, so that's like 50-ish, out of body experiences when I lived in Koreatown. Yes, creative soul, I have had out-of-body experiences. I resisted because it scared me. Yes. Out-of-body experiences is what Henry went through after having an operation, and then he found himself in one corner of the room and he could see his body down. Most people have out-of-body experiences where they go traveling, right? And it comes kind of like in a form of a dream, right? You get to travel. Some people get to travel to other dimensions. Some people get to stay right here on Earth and you just get to travel like a plane would. And I've had several of those experiences, more when I was younger, when I couldn't control it. And when I got older, the last time I had an experience, I couldn't get back in my body. And I panicked. And I struggled to get back in my body. So I had to figure out whether or not these travelings were safe for me, because I wasn't figuring out. Leaving was easy, but I wasn't figuring out how to smoothly get my soul back in. And so I said to Spirit, I'm done. I will not travel anymore. And sure enough, they don't bring me for out of body traveling. Maybe in my dreams, but I don't dream very much either. Angela says, I had what I believe was an astral projection. Exactly, that's what it's called. Experience while asleep. But because I didn't know that's what it was at the time, I got scared and it immediately woke me up. That's okay. That's a good thing. All right. Has anybody else ever had out of body experiences? If you have, let me know in the comments. Oh, look at Sweet Carmel. I journaled my experiences. They were always while sleeping. I journaled because I knew it was something I was supposed to be remembering from them. That's so nice to journal, and to have a dream journal by your bed. That's nice. Once I used to keep a dream journal by my bed, but one day I took my dream journal. I thought I woke up. I really did. I thought I woke up and I wrote down my dream. And then I passed out. And when I woke up for my shift in life, in the light of day, I remembered I wrote down my dream. And it was all gibberish. I have no idea what the hell I wrote down. I was like, I'm really bad at this dream journaling. Celestial Earth Goddess says, I astral project on a regular. Oh, wow. I'm literally living a whole nother life in my sleep. Are you rested? Do you rest? Do you actually get sleep? Are you tired all the time? Because that could be a byproduct of astral projecting. Celestial? Sometimes I am tired. Sometimes or all the time. Because part of the willingness to astral project, which is what I think I'm hearing from you, that you enjoy it. Part of the willingness to astral project is to remind your spirits that are taking you that I need to go to sleep. So I can't hang out all night with you all. Do you understand how that works? I need some sleep. I'm enjoying myself. Get me back to my body for sleep. You'll be surprised how the spirit world wants to have fun with you, but in no way does the spirit world want to impede upon you being physically taken care of. But the spirit world, like anything else, forgets. When they're having fun with you, they don't mean to hurt you. So if they think they're hurting you, they'll be like, oh my God, I never meant to hurt you. So you have to say something to them. You have to be like, okay, I'm going to travel tonight. I don't mind. I love what you're showing me, but I got to work tomorrow. So bring me back early. And I promise you, they will take care of you. Me personally, I'm not going to let no one astral project me anywhere without an agreement. So I think the most important thing I want you guys to request before you go to bed at night is all spirits must be of God. Okay? Just say that out loud and boom, it is done. All spirits must be of God. All right? Yes, ma'am. Start doing that because I need more rest. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yes. Lisa Stanford says, I also traveled. Oh my goodness. I visited the ancient city of Egypt. Spirit said this to me. This stands here as a reminder. It will never be built again, nor can it be destroyed. Ooh, that's some inside information, Lisa. Wow. That's profound. Thank you for that. Angela says, it's funny because when I felt my soul leaving my body, I wasn't sure if I was dying or astral projecting. I'm not afraid of dying. I just didn't want to leave my son with autism behind. So wake myself up. Aww, that's amazing. Um, Also, I don't know how old your autistic child is, but realistically, make sure he has a network that you can help manage while you are here with him. Make sure he has a network, right? And if he has a network, you could then feel safe in all things with your autistic baby. So, and I hope you know what I mean by network. People of like mind, um, activities that he could go to, or when he's older? Is there a group home for his level of autism, right? Don't leave your child to the state to figure things out, right? Make sure there's a plan. Just like you would get insurance for your children, have the insurance of knowing that you are advocating for your child while you're here. That's what I did with my sister. I only know this because I was forced to do it with my sister. All right? And if anything were to happen to me, all hell would break loose. But at the very least, she's a part of a system. And she's also a part of a group of people that would never let anything happen to her. So my son admitted to me that he leaves his body and checks on his family, then returns to his body. That's so funny. He leaves his body, checks on his family, then returns to his body. I love that. Oh, he does it inside the house. Oh, that's why I was like, oh, that's so funny. Oh, he does it inside the house. That makes sense to me, Stacy. That makes so much sense. I love that. Lisa Stanford says, Spirit has talked to me since I was a child. My mother was born with a veil covering her face. Yes. So there used to be this thing. I don't know if everybody knows it. It's a black thing, I think, because I never hear white people talk about it. About a veil covering um, the face. And apparently it was an obvious way of noticing that the child could be gifted, even though that's not the word that they use. So, but I think what I'm noticing here more, Lisa, is that if your mother was gifted, the child is also gifted. So hence you're gifted. And most times the children are more gifted than their parents. All right, because the circumstances in society adjust. All right. Keep the stories coming, by the way, on childhood memories of your experience and out of body experiences. And remember to say, you must be of God. Okay? On to the next story. Between 10 and 12, I could tell in advance when something was going to happen. If I wanted someone to do something, oh, I love this, I would send them a thought. Or I would send a thought not to do something. At that time, I was a mean, hateful child. My energy was strong. I could project it to hurt people, and I knew I could. This is Jessica Marshall's story. Separated from her mother, sorry guys, I have to tell you, every time I read, I get these weird fidgety things that go on, and I know it's related to this book because when I was talking to you guys, I did not have any fidgety stuff, and I get back to the book and I start fidgeting. So just let me get the fidget out my system right now so I can focus. I'm sorry, guys. It's all in my face too, by the way. Just this tingling that's happening. Okay. Hold on. Okay. I don't know what it is, but I'm just gonna let the tingle happen, gather my strength, and go on to Jessica's story. Okay, hopefully I'm good. This is Jessica Marshall's story. Separated from her mother in native Louisiana at 7 years old, She and her older sister were transported to Oakland to live with their father and his new wife. The move was traumatic for Jessica, who changed from a good-natured child to a sullen one. I was angry with my father and stepmother. I never got into fights. I could see things happening to friends, and I would tell them, but they didn't like it, so I stopped telling them. Jessica became a loner with only one or two friends. I learned to play by myself. I couldn't take crowds for some reason, but I loved sports and was captain of a team. I had leadership abilities. In this period, the family moved to Los Angeles. Her father, whom she recalls as venturesome, presented his children with many creative challenges. I was often plagued by being the only black. My father wanted us to be aware of everything. He wanted us to be around and familiar with different cultures and different religions. He wanted us to understand that people were only people regardless of color, that we all are one. My gift was knowing, but I didn't know how I knew. I could always see something before it happened. I thought everyone could. I was 14 when I found out that everyone couldn't. So, Jessica's story is very, very short, but they're all short little stories, but this one is shorter than most. And she says something here, but she's going to advance something good. I want to do something. Oh, in the very first sentence, Jessica says, if I wanted someone to do something, I would send them a thought, or I would send them a thought not to do something. That is probably one of the most powerful things that you could practice, right? We just talked about that, where it's like, say a prayer when you get these impressions of other people's issues, put the prayer back to them, give it back to them, don't hold on to it. That's very much in alignment with Jessica. If I wanted someone to do something, I would send them a thought, or I would send a thought not to do something. I remember back in May, was it May or March? Can't remember anymore. I wanted an increase in my credit card limit. And I remember holding on to my credit card, and I remember saying, I deserve this. I deserve an increase. And sure enough, they were never going to contact me to give me an increase. But I called them and I said, you guys have never acknowledged an increase. And the woman went away, came back. Within seconds, she was like, you're right. We have it. So now you've been increased $1,000. And I thanked her and got off the phone. And always I speak with God and I go, God, that was easy. Not recognizing that with God, my thought and want for something is what made it easy, right? And you could do that with anything and everything, right? When I started back talking with my grandson, of course, he didn't know this, but I started to send him impressions to see if he would one day say the impression. And then I forgot that I was doing that. But I tried it. At least I tried it. But then I forgot I was supposed to keep doing it. But now that I'm thinking about this, I'm going to do it again. So it could be anything, right? It could be like if I'm talking about Ezra, right? So I could send him a visualization of a red chair. And in my mind, I could say, see the red chair, Ezra. See the red chair. And then I would do that until he tells me something about the red chair, right? So I would be testing my ability to get through to him energetically. All right. I think it's interesting what Jessica said. If I wanted someone to do something, I would send them a thought, or I would send them a thought to not do something. You guys have the power to do exactly what Jessica has done. You do have the power. The sad part is that you could use it for evil. So be careful when you use something for evil, because we do it unconsciously, right? When we go to work, we wish somebody would just lose their job. Oh my gosh, she's so annoying. Why don't they just fire her? Like, be careful, because you don't know who that person is to God. You don't know who that person is taking care of in God's eyes. And you might have a problem with the person. It doesn't necessarily mean everybody does. And so you could be wishing something on somebody that God has already decided is protected. And you will never be able to get through. And you will leave the job before they do. And we do this naturally and unconsciously. But when you find yourself doing it, just go, oh God, I don't mean it. Ugh. If you can remember to do that, but forgive yourself if you do say it. It won't be the end of the world, because God don't listen to half of the stupid shit that we say out of my mouth. Listen to me, out of our mouths. He doesn't. He knows the difference between a real intent and just speaking out the side of your face. But sometimes, if you say it enough, it becomes real. So if you woke up every day and called yourself ugly, you would become ugly. I promise you. Even if you don't mean it. But if you woke up every day and looked in your bathroom mirror as you're brushing your teeth and say, I am so pretty, I am so handsome, everything about you facially will become pretty and handsome. So that's an amazing gift that this little girl had, in terms of, I would send them a thought, or I would send a thought not to do something. And I would be curious as to how all of that impression worked out for her. So I need it more on Jessica, because that is fascinating. Hold on, guys. Alrighty now. Let's continue on. Let me see what everybody has to say. You're welcome, Celestial. My 5-year-old granddaughter has the gift. She knows things before they happen. When she was about 9 months old, she would say the name I called my grandmother as a child and smile at me. That is so cool. Document her gifts. When I was younger, I would actually enter people's dreams in the dream with them and tell them what I wanted them to know. Oh, wow. Hearing your explanation, Jessica was using telepathy, and me entering the dreams are two different gifts. Yeah. Yeah, it's not the same thing. I don't know if you meant to put the two together, but definitely isn't the same thing. But I think it's interesting that you guys, you would enter into somebody's dreams. Would you ask God if that was allowed, though, Angela? The next time you want to, like, do you want to enter somebody's dreams? Always get permission for anything that you're doing. Again, the reason why I'm asking you to check with spirit is because there's power in the gift. And like anything else, the gift can be abused. So we want to make sure whatever we're doing with the gift, we're getting permission. So before you go to bed, you have to be like, all right, God, I am thinking about entering somebody's dreams. If it's allowed, may I? All right. Oh, you did it in your teens. Oh, that helps, guys. If you guys let me know that some of the things that you're doing is current as grown persons or as teenagers, that would make a big difference in me understanding um, your stories. Because as children, we don't have the wherewithal out of control. Things just happen, and that totally makes sense as a teenager. Thank you, Angela. Next story is Bob. For a year after she died, Bob's aunt appeared to him from time to time in his family's kitchen. He was then 7 or 8. Another spirit, a guide, had come shortly after the death to help him. I missed a lot of unpleasant things by following what Spirit told me, Bob says now looking back. The guide directed him not to go down certain streets, saving him from encounters with bullies and loose dogs. Remember, we talked about that earlier. If Spirit tells you, make a left, do not argue with Spirit. Spirit, I always go straight. Why am I thinking about making a left? Just make the left. He became able to control dogs which dashed toward him. Has anybody had that experience? When they came within a hair's breadth, they could advance no more, and he could walk away. He was so well oriented by the Spirit that he never got lost in all of his childhood meanderings. First through the streets of Memphis and later through the streets of Chicago, that other children or adults could get lost, mystified. Now an adult whose occupation is in sales, Bob Edwards lives in Los Angeles. His psychometric gift is strong. He picks up vibrations from the individual's possessions. Oh, wow. I love that kind of stuff. I forgot what it's called. And receives mental pictures of that individual's current circumstances. In his psychic work, he finds articles, lost animals, and people. He is assisted in his readings by his inner voice and a male spirit guide. I love that. Okay, this is jam packed with so much stuff. What is it called when you can? Let me see. I knew it was psycho something. Psychometry. Psychometry. Okay, so again, jam packed with stuff. Very short stories, but just downloaded with things here. So, who has gotten stories from spirit where spirit says, don't do this, don't go to work, don't do this, don't do that? Tell me about those stories. Those stories are fascinating. Or the time you don't listen, right? And then boom, something happens. And then you realize that you were told not to do something. I was once in an Uber, and Uber meter telephone told him not to make a left onto the highway. And unfortunately, he said something to me. And he goes, I forgot what it's called. The map is telling him to not make a left onto the 101, but to go down further and go to the 405. And I looked at the map, and we both didn't read the map well. I don't know if we didn't read the map well. And I said, the road is clear. We could see the cars zizzing by. And I said, that's silly. Make the left. Which he did. Thank you, Rhonda, GPS. Which he did. And we're riding along, and there was not a single problem. And I remember thinking, why would his GPS tell him not to make this left? Because the road is clear. Until it wasn't. And where we had made the left, the next exit could not be found. There was not an exit to be found. And then we hit traffic. And we were stuck in traffic for 3 hours. And at the time, Uber was cheaper. But we sat there for 3 hours, and my bill was like $200. And I called Uber, and I said, listen, we made a mistake. We got stuck. Like, I don't want to pay this bill. And Uber was like, no, you're going to pay the bill. And then I realized that was spirit telling both of us, don't make that left. Don't make the left. The GPS did not show that there was a problem. Because when there's traffic, red shows up. And he touched the GPS. He's like, I don't see what the problem is. Because you can move to see if there's a problem. And I was like, well, if you don't see what the problem is, make the left. What I learned from that was not the high bill, right? Screw me, I have to pay a high Uber bill. What I learned from that was the next time God talks through the GPS, God talks through a human being, a 5-year-old, a 90-year-old, a 35-year-old. Listen. They're always there to always help you. So I love that part. I missed a lot of unpleasant things, says Bob, by following what Spirit told me. Who doesn't follow what Spirit tells them and then it's like, oh my God, what a nightmare here. The guy directed him to not go down certain streets, saving him from encounters with bullies and loose dogs, right? So it's very interesting to understand and to see. You never know what anybody is you never know what God is saving you from. Many people are scared of dogs. So what if spirit is saving you from a loose dog? And sometimes, guys, you don't even have to know what it is. Just listen to spirit. Give yourself that much wiggle room that spirit loves you so damn much. And understand that spirit is so much around you that they are there to assist you, to help you, to stop you, to make life better for you, all the above, right? Let me see what else Bob did. There's little stories, but they're jam packed. Okay, has anybody been able to control an animal? I got here, and there's this dog. I pass this damn dog every day. Every day I pass this damn dog. I was walking every day. The damn dog, every day, it wouldn't pay me no mind. And then one day, the damn dog came for me. Came for me. And all I could think was, you son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. And you could see its movement. All of it. I was like, I'm going to die. And I held out my hand and I said, stop. Stop. I just screamed so loud. The dog stopped and whimpered away. I was dying. Now, I can't tell you if that's any real psychic impression. I can only tell you that I had this experience and I was not about to let no dog take me down. Has anybody ever had that experience? So funny when it happens, though. Um, or the love of animals, right? Or anything like that. Let me know down below. Jessica Davis. Hi, Jessica. She said, you're about to make me cry. Could be because I'm pregnant. Oh, happy pregnancy, sweetie. Oh, pregnancy will make you cry at everything. You'll enjoy this pregnancy then, because that means that child wanted to hear these stories. That means you are getting prepared for your own psychic little baby child. That's God. God is in everything. Get ready. Oh, let me see one more thing. That's the other thing I want to bring out. Jessica. Jessica said she became a loner. That's very typical with spiritual people. Oh my God, my ass, Jessica. There are no accidents. You are not listening today. Let me just listen to Tracy Brown. Nope. Your baby is telling you to listen to me. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I got connections with babies, by the way. They don't need to be born. When my granddaughter, my granddaughter was born, my daughter-in-law thought it was a boy. And I had no impression either way. I was like, oh, I pray whatever she wants, what I want. And then her father died. And when her father died, her mother came to me in a dream. And this woman was holding up a plaque with the little girl with the ponytail. And she kept putting it in my face in my dreams. And I kept pushing it away. I was like, who is this? Until I realized this was someone trying to talk to me. And so the plaque of this, it was like a stone plaque of this little girl, which is so odd, came to me and she kept like putting it in my mind's eye to my eyes. And she said, this is your granddaughter. And I was like, oh my God, oh God, this is my granddaughter, right? And so I went immediately because the mom had several messages to give me. And so I had to give the daughter, my son's fiance at the time, sunflowers. And I had to give the sister purple flowers. And what came out of that, my understanding when I did this, I said, I don't know what this means, but this is from your mother. And sunflowers for her was a song where the mom used to say, you are my sunshine, my only sunshine. So she understood that. And I was like, oh my God, that's so incredible. And I said, well, this is for your sister, but it had to be purple. And purple was the mom's favorite color. And I was like, oh, okay. And I said, well, if that's the case, I have one more thing to tell you. And I said, you're definitely having a girl. And she was like, nope, I'm having a boy. And I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm done. Ultimately, they get the word that they're definitely having a girl. So she was able to resign to the actualization that a girl was coming through her. And then I started talking to the baby in utero. And I don't remember anymore. It was like 4 years ago, but the conversations that we used to have. And she was supposed to be born in May, and I think she was supposed to be born May 14th. I think she was born on the 17th. And I said, when are you being born? Are you going full term? And she said, yes. I said, about and around what date? And if I remember correctly, she said the 17th. And I thought that was interesting because 17 adds up to 8. And that was the only reason why I remember. It was when's Nova's birthday? It was either the 8, which is me, or the 7, which is spirituality. It was one of the two. Hold on a second, because now I can't remember her birthday. Stop it. Nicola. 17th, yes. Lovely girl. Oh, love this girl. And it was time for her. And I told the mom, I said, Nova's going to be born on the 17th. Maybe that was pushy of me. I don't know. And then the mom went into labor on the 14th, and they sent her home. She went to labor on the 15th, and they sent her home. She finally gets into labor on the 16th, early in the morning. And I said, Nova, and I get the message, and she's about to be born. I said, Nova, you told me the 17th. What's happening? And then I realized, the mom's body has its own time clock. So it is what it is, right? So I was like, okay, the mom body supersedes, right? 6:00 at night, still no baby. 9:00 at night, still no baby. By 10:00, I'm now exhausted with this labor, right? And I hear, we took a bet. We all took a bet when this baby would be born. And they were pretty confident from the size of that thing, the circumference, I forget what it's called. And everybody was confident the baby was going to be born tonight. So by 6:00, she might have been 8 centimeters. That's what I mean, 8 centimeters. And they were like, boom, this baby's going to be born. And I was like, no, Nova told me on the 17th. So they called me and they said, we're taking bets. When do you think the baby will be born? What time? I said after midnight. I did not give a time because I wanted the date, the 17th. But nobody knew this. So I said, after midnight. Everybody was sure I was going to lose. They were not worried about me. 10 o'clock, we were at 9 centimeters. We might have even been at 9.5 centimeters. No baby. And I was so exhausted, I passed out. I went to sleep. I passed out. I wake up 3 o'clock in the morning, no text message that the baby was born from anyone. I'm mortified. I'm scared. I text my son, nothing. Nothing. When I finally heard from him, it was 100% daylight, and that little girl was born May 17th at 5:30 a.m. by C-section. Yeah. So that's my baby. And we were talking, and I was right, and nobody believed me. And I put the phone by my belly, and he started moving. What? What? You put my voice by his belly? Oh, what's his name? What's his name, Jessica? Oh my God, of course he started moving. Souls know souls. We know each other. Oh, I love that. Tell me his name. James. Put the phone back to James, Jessica. James, how are you? Welcome, James. You're going to be amazing, James. You're going to be strong. You're going to be powerful. And you're going to be so smart, James. And you're going to be spiritually sound. And you're going to make your mama and your papa so proud. I love you, James. Can't wait till you get to this amazing world that you might have to fix, James. You and the whole other generation. We waiting for y'all. Bye, James. Take it easy. Bye. Aw, Jessica, I love that. I put the phone on my belly and he started to move. Animals and babies, they cannot not come near me. Oh, I love that. All right, guys, I think I'm going to stop here. We went 1 hour and 58 minutes. Of course, I can continue on, but the next story is lengthy. So I want to save the next story to give us more time. A lot of children's stories in here, guys. I think you guys are going to appreciate these stories. I'm excited now. I didn't know what to expect. I had not opened this book at all. Again, Spirit said, get the book. I only do what Spirit tells me. Spirit said, get the book. And I did check. In the back of this book, it was sent from England, where Kate Middleton is being held hostage. Yep. And he sold it for $35 to me, but it was $11.95 from Macmillan.net. So this is going to be fascinating to constantly have an ongoing conversation about spiritual gifts. Right now, we're starting out with children. Let me just read the, where is it? The contents. Then it's the medium's way. Then it's ascetics, ecstatics, and seekers. And then and some are old souls. Oh, let me do it. The medium's way, communicators link etheric world and extra dimensional entities with Earth. The work of individual spiritual ministers, spiritualists, and channel. Ecstatics, and seekers, men and women in spiritual transition and their mystical revolutions. Yes! That's a charity in the UK? Really? That doesn't even surprise me. Oh, of course I would get a book from a charity in the UK. Why wouldn't I? And some are old souls, reincarnated persons tell of former existence, gifted in physical healing. Psychic healers assist with the physically ill, expelling negative spirits. That's one, it's really important. Individuals who invoke spiritual and psychic powers to displace discarnate beings and their influences. Astral projection, there's a whole thing on astral projections, guys. Travelers out of body and in extra physical dimensions. By way of rites, performers of ceremonies to enhance spiritual, emotional, and physical well beings, interpreters of symbols, tarots, crystals, astrology, numerology, and other physical means. Legacy of second sight, families endowed with psychic gifts, those born with the physical signs of seership. And lastly, diversity of gifts, psychics as teachers, the many and varied manifestations of spirit and psychicism. All right. All right, guys. I'm going to get going. And James was his grandfather's name. Aww. Aww. He'll protect you, sweetie. Watch. Angelic Bright. I love that this book was delivered to me from a charity. That's so cool. All right, guys, get going. I am hungry. I did not eat breakfast this morning on purpose. My tooth is going through something. I thought it was healing, and now it's not healing. I don't know what it's going through, so it is what it is. I love you guys. Thank you for today's Company of Prophets. We're going to get through this, and it's going to be fun. Oh, she's got pictures in here, too. Oh, look at this. Aww. Aww. Aww, she's got pictures. Aww. Oh, this is nice. Oh, the pregnant Madonna. All right, guys, I could do this forever. Tracy, that's about to do. Get me some food. Yes, go eat. I love you guys. Thank you for putting up with the format, and it'll get better. Not that I don't think this is bad, but I will get more comfortable with what I'm doing. I love you guys. Take it easy. Bye.
Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live.